India's current population is at 1.2 billion, meaning overpopulated. It is set to surpass China by 2028. How do you think they manage when they don't even have a one-child policy? Their population growth stands at 1.6% per year, when in the 1970s it was about 2.3%. What can possibly be the hidden truth of this downfall? Perhaps it is the truth of population control by forced sterilization, which takes away the rights of a woman to keep her child or not, and makes life-threatening decisions for her body by forcing it upon them.
Well, I'm not sure if it's dangerous or not. I think that it's unfair if people aren't given the choice. It may be dangerous. It really depends on how they go about doing it medically, I suppose, and the environment that these procedures are performed in. Ultimately, I think that it's unfair and that people should be given a choice as to whether or not that's something that's appropriate for them and their family. Yeah, so I think it's dangerous in the fact that you might be treating people from a certain class or race or religion or whatever it is unfairly.
Mass demand for sterilization means in some clinics where there are 6 beds have near 100 women lying on the floor waiting for surgery. Dr. R.K. Gupta was arrested for more than 83 surgeries in less than 3 hours at a health camp in Chhattisgarh state of India. Now think about this transmission of disease over improper cleanups. Due to India's corruption, expired medicine in varying doses are common in the public health system. In the camps, none are properly examined before the operation, even though most of the women are in poor physical condition and so weak already. Some women die from forced sterilization, others suffer from anemia, severe asthma, and diabetes. Tubal ligation is more dangerous than the IUD or diaphragm. This is when fallopian tubes are tied, blocked, or removed to prevent the passage of eggs. It is done during a 2 to 3 day hospital stay with reaching the tubes through the vagina or the abdomen, or by a procedure called laparoscopy, in which a tiny incision is made in the abdomen and the tubes are clipped or burned. A hysterectomy involves the removal of the uterus and is more dangerous than tubal, yet it is the second most frequent operation performed in the U.S. There are 3,000 to 5,000 deaths per million, and recovery requires at least 6 weeks. Today, number 1 is tonsillectomies. Serious complications per million women are as high as 15,000 for tubals, 600 for pill, and 400 for the IUD. Side effects include bleeding, uterine perforation, accidental bleeding or bowel trauma, and abdominal pain or pain during menstruation.
In my opinion, sterilization is happening in India because of the government, rather the government wants to do it. They're doing it, I think, to control the birth, but in my opinion, it's not really controlling anything. I think the government should help instead of forcing it upon them. I think the government should try to educate the people and tell them that you do not need that many kids. Rather, you should just only need the amount that you need, like 2 or 3 kids or 1 kid. And then you should learn how to raise that one child up properly rather than raising 6 kids up and then having some killed because you can't feed them properly. So I think the government of India should rather do education rather than
This form of population control is the government's scheme to execute the growing population. In most states, men who choose to be sterilized are paid $33 by the Indian government, but women only $23. Some are paid 1,400 rupees in other states. Less than 1% of Indian men choose to sterilize, while 4 out of 10 women choose sterilization, and that's the highest percent in the world. India's family planning policies hits the country's poor and unprivileged women, as they are considered less politically powerful and more easily targeted when pressurized. The young women living with HIV/AIDS gender non-conforming women or the ones with disabilities are often forced into sterilization. Camps are held regularly across India as long-term effect to control population growth, which is a crime that is invested. Between 2009 and 2012, the government paid compensation for 568 deaths resulting from sterilization, 40,000 rupees for families who had died, and 50,000 rupees for those in the hospital. India's state health minister usually denies the reality and is surprised to hear about some cases and targets that are being set. Local governments in India often offer incentives as cars and electrical goods to women volunteering to sterilize. Throughout India, surgeons and health workers are rewarded for meeting sterilization targets. You see, the cheaper option for the government is sterilization over other solutions such as educating men and women on the use of other forms of contraception. Politicians accuse fake doctors of causing many deaths.
I think our population, as our generation in I think America and Canada and more developed countries, I think we're pretty ignorant to the fact that we do not know what's going on, and when we do find out, we're just like, oh, it's okay, because they're poor, they're not that important or anything. We feel like, okay, there's so much population, it's okay to just kill that many, but we shouldn't do that. We should more think towards them. We should try to help them, support them, and we should fight for this cause to stop forced sterilization, rather educate the people how to stop such a huge amount of population.
Poor women in developing countries are labeled as irresponsible breeders. They should not be having 6 kids or any kids, considering their cause of overpopulating the earth. Now a decent life on earth will be threatened from toxic byproducts. The world's supply of energy and water, atmospheric pollution has gone to dangerous levels, and overconsumption of resources. But is it still okay that there is food available to feed 11 billion people on this planet, and 1 out of 7 billion still suffer from starvation? The rich people can meet all their demands and get whatever they want. The problem of running out of resources isn't the reason of being irresponsible breeders. It's also the services per person, energy per person, and carbon dioxide per unit energy that is overconsumed by certain people. You are able to take a shower with hot water, and that is just a blessing for some. Sometimes immigrants are blamed for producing a lot of kids. Some are blaming the immigration law for letting everyone into their country. Do you really think so? Is this an issue concerning to be fixed? Not only women should be forced to put their lives in jeopardy, but men should equally take the stand. If men can't be a part of helping the problem, they should at least not force other women either. This issue causes gender inequality because females are put into this situation more than men are. When men do it, it's a different case. They are considered weaker. And it's not acceptable in India's society if men do sterilization, even though it's more safer if men do it and more faster and easier. And it causes gender imbalance because when female and their families are put into a situation where they can have only one child at the max, they choose to have men over females because females are like another a burden on their shoulders, and men are considered the helpers of the family and the providers of the family. So that's why it may cause a gender imbalance also. And of course, this issue is a crime against humanity because we have the power to even say that, oh, it's okay to kill these people. That means our humanity has been erased. It's been fully taken away. And this sterilization is a threat because one example is when in India, a father went to take his son to get treatment for rabies. He was told and threatened that his son won't get his treatment until he gets sterilized himself, the father himself. Many marriages ended in divorce and no one would accept them as wives anymore. Eugenists believe that measures should be taken to prevent undesirables from reproduction so that problems such as poverty, substance abuse, and so on would be erased in the future generations.
Children shouldn't have anything to do with the population. Even in China, because children are living things, they're just incoming humans to the world. And killing is never the answer anywhere. Killing is never the answer or the cure to anything. So the only thing I would say to make safe on this cure and believe, then yeah, one child should be enough for everyone's safety than to kill 1,000 children who didn't even do anything, who are just entering the world.
Just because first of all, I didn't know what sterilization was, and just as how I just found out what it really is, and I think that's a horrible situation. No one should be going through that, especially because it's women and they're getting empowered. And why should women go through that when it's not only women who are giving birth, it's men have the equal hand in it. So I think it's not the only way. There is other ways, like obviously education. The women can be told, taught, brought up in schools, give education where they're gonna learn about the modern ways of living, and that's just gonna tell them how they wouldn't want to have kids, right? And then they will want to wait off, and instead of having like 5 kids, they're gonna have like 2 kids or 1 kid. That's obviously over the years gonna start decreasing the population. So I think sterilization is a horrible way of torturing someone for something they can't control.
I don't think sterilization is the best solution for population control. I mean, there are a number of different ways that you can control the growing population, and that does not include destroying a woman's body just to try and avoid it. I mean, like, just imagine if this was your mom, your sister, your wife, your daughter. Like, would you really want to put them through this? Or just imagine if this was yourself. Yeah. So I think instead of sterilization, people should just use birth control pills and similar preventions.
What the United Nations have in mind for the strategy of population control seems to be on the side of the evil and negative aspect, because all the blames they've put on the people for the problem on the earth gives only one solution for killing them. Notice how the government actually cares only about the lives of a super race, with full advantages, high abilities, and no defects. The thousands of people at the state colony for epileptics, are they not deserving to know what it's like to have a family, or to experience being a mother or father with complete happiness? What the government might really want is us to be the last generation on this planet. Should the process be left alone towards the natural ways and what is planned for this world, the natural deaths and births? The focus should be on spreading information alternatives, which are less risky and not permanent.